where real estate and lifestyle meet. It's not about where you came from, it's about where you are going. Everybody has a journey or story about life. We can help each other push through these obstacles by sharing the process, stories, and walks of life. Some of us have role models, some of us don't. This is my journey with no role models. What up, everyone? This is Robert, Colangeli Homes on Instagram. Are your host, and Aaron Gamboa.
Yes, sir. What's going on, guys?
Today on No Role Models podcast, we have a special guest, big-time investor, Z06.
HOMICIDE Z06. Well, everybody knows me as that. My real name is Jose Hermosillo. The Instagram name just kind of stuck. You know, all my buddies, we grew up, we would always go to the street races. We have a team called Team HOMICIDE. I mean, we're all a little bit older now, so we don't really go out and race like we used to, but I started the Instagram with that name when I started building my Corvette.
Oh,
and,
cool.
You know, it just kind of like stuck. Like now that I just got bigger on Instagram and business and everything else, like there was times where I'm like, oh, should I start another Instagram for like my business or this or that? And I don't know, I just kind of kept running it. And you know, when I thought about like, oh, the name sounds a little crazy, should I change it? It's like, but then I'll go places and people be like, hey, HOMICIDE, like, oh damn, well everybody already knows me like that. Like I'm gonna have to like change it all up. So I kept it.
Cool. Yeah, we've kept in touch for a while. We went to your party not too long ago. We've done business here and there, little bit of this, little bit of that, but definitely, I wanted to bring you on because I see you out there investing, making moves, with properties, and I really respect that. I think that it takes a lot of work, hard work, hustle. To get out there and do things like that and make a change in people's lives.
Yeah.
Because it's not just your life, it's the workers, it's whoever you have helping you, managers, realtors, everything. So you're actually making jobs for all of us out there and helping the community at the same time.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
No, anytime. So tell us a little intro about you, where you grew up, a little bit about your childhood. Like, what could you describe about your childhood? Like in 3 words or 3 sentences?
Normal. The biggest thing I'd say is just like, I call it normal. It's just, my dad's a truck driver. My mom worked a warehouse job.
What city?
In Pomona.
Okay.
Yeah, Pomona was, I think we moved there when I was like in 6th grade. So that was like the majority. We were in West Covina before that. And think as a kid growing up, you don't really understand things much until you get older. You start working. Yeah. You're like, dang, like they'll do all this. They were doing all this for us on like this type of salary or all that. So I'm grateful. My parents were really good to us and everything. And I don't know. I just I don't know. It was
only child or brothers and sisters?
One sister.
Okay.
One sister.
You're the older or she's the older?
I'm the oldest.
Oh, okay. So you got to kind of watch out after her and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we still keep in touch.
Oh,
and then
good.
Unfortunately, my parents got separated, but so I have another stepbrother and a stepsister, and then both my mom and dad remarried. So family got a little bigger.
Okay. Were they into real estate stuff too, or cars, or anything like that? Like you were?
No, not really. No, my dad's just a truck driver. He owns a couple rentals, but just more, just passively. Cars, I kind of just got into cars. I think more, I was always into them, and the friends I grew up with were all into cars. I remember, like when I first started really working, and I wanted to get a car. My dad was cool. I was like, hey, would you help me sign for a car? I had no credit and all that stuff, so he helped me out. And I think one of my first cool cars at the time, I had got like a Charger, a V6 Charger,
Yeah.
And it's funny. I had a friend of mine who, at the time, he had got a Chrysler 300 SRT8, so it's like the performance model,
Yeah.
And since like I mentioned, like we kind of grew up normal, so to me it was like a lot of stuff didn't really seem obtainable, so he tells me one day, he's like, why don't you get a SRT8? And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, that's like too much. He's like, why? Like, why is that too much? And I'm like, I don't know. It just is, you know? And he just kind of like left me thinking, like, I don't know, why is it too much, you know?
Yeah.
Well, he was a hard worker, so he probably had that that drive in him to dream and stuff like that. And maybe he was just like living through you, helping you. He wants the best for you, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think it was, you know, we grew up a little bit differently, you know? So maybe, you know, maybe he grew up a little bit more, you know, his parents had a little bit more money and things like that. So he was a bit more open to things like that already, to where, like, you know, the area that we grew up in, you know, a lot of the friends and family that we had, you know, people weren't making crazy money. I mean, everybody was, you know, doing okay, but, you know, nobody was like splurging on, you know, crazy cars or stuff like that. So,
Right.
you know, for me, it was like, not like this is a new car, it's a nice car, this and that, you know? But I remember he just kind of opened up that question, like, well, why is it too much, you know? So then I looked into it, and I'm like, oh man, like I looked into like the financing and everything. I'm like, well, it's, you know, it's a couple, you know, $200 more a month, and insurance is a little more, but you know what, it is obtainable. So I did it. Like I told my dad, hey, like I want to get this car, you know? And I was working at the time, so I pitched in too, you know? And he's like, yeah, like if you want it, like just save up the down payment. I'll get it for you, and we'll give your sister the other car.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, cool, and we did, you know. And I think like that kind of like really stuck to me, because it was like, you know, just the whole, like, you grew up in a certain environment, and a lot of times we don't think certain things are like obtainable, like, you know, especially nowadays, like Instagram and social media, like you see people doing all kinds of crazy stuff, and you know, it's easy to think like, no, like I could never do that, you know. But, you know, in reality, like anything is possible if you know, you just set your mind to it and make the right moves, you know, little by little, even if it's, you know, one small step at a time.
Yeah.
So, you know, after that, I just, you know, kept doing other things in life with business and, you know, just everything in general. Eventually, you know, got rid of that car, eventually got like a nicer car and things like that. And just, you know, in different things that I've done in my life, you know, increasing income and things like that. Like, oh, I would have never thought I would make this much money, and cool, I'll set a goal and, you know, beat that goal, or hey, I want to get this, and, you know, I would achieve that. So I think, you know, it's been a while now, but eventually I broke that, like, nah, like this is not obtainable, you know? And I just kind of like, I think after a certain amount of time and different things in my life, like I just, I opened up the idea that like nothing is unobtainable, you know? Everything just takes time and work, but, you know, you should never really put yourself in a mentality that, no, that's not for me. Like I could never get to that level, or I could never have a car like that. I could never make that much money. Like it's not true, you know, because I mean, I'm not the only story, and I'm not the craziest story, you know. There's a lot of people that have done like so much from nothing, and, you know, I mean, even myself, man, I definitely have, you know, gotten here from, I want to say like almost nothing really, you know. So, you know, and like I mentioned, it's like I'm not the only, you know, I don't want to call myself a success story, but, you know, kind of. And I feel like I still have a lot more to go and a lot more to do.
Yeah.
So definitely that was you would say that was a pivotal moment in your upbringing that helped shape you today, right?
Yeah, because it opened my mind up to like, well, you know, yeah, like why do I have this mentality of like no, you know? But I think it's just also like
Mindset.
yeah, mindset, because, you know, my background, you know, I'm Mexican, and I think a lot of you know, the way we grew up is conservative, you know.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So I was kind of taught to be conservative until eventually, like, you know, I started like breaking away from that. I mean, not fully. I mean, you do have to be conservative to a certain extent, but, you know, if things make sense, like just go for it, you know.
Yeah.
And little by little, you know, more and more things happen, and I eventually just, you know, I'll do my math in my head of, you know, certain investments I wanted to do or certain moves I wanted to make, and, you know, obviously I would, you know, run certain ideas by, you know, people I trusted, my dad, you know, my mom, close friends, close family, and, you know, it's good to like, you know, get everybody's opinions on things, but sometimes you have to just do the math in your own head and the pros and the cons, you know. And
believe in yourself.
and believe in yourself, you know.
Yeah. Was it was it tough when like you've started investing and you would tell friends and family, and then sometimes they're like, "Oh, you're gonna lose. What are you doing?"
That sounds, yeah, exactly. You know, I think like when I, you know, even when I, you know, started my first business, I'm like, no, I don't like, because I had an auto detailing business before, and I just broke away from like, you know, having a job, and it's like, oh dang, like, are you sure? Like that sounds kind of crazy. Like you have to go out and you know get your paycheck every week. Like yeah, but you know if I can get 1, 2, 3, 4 jobs a day, I can make this much a day, multiply it, this and this. Like you know, I just went for it, and then you know, fast forward a few years, when I you know wanted to buy my first house, it's when the market was like, I mean, compared to now, it was freaking great, you know. But compared to you know previous generations, it didn't seem so good. So I remember when I bought my first house, I had wanted to buy a house for a while, but um,
What year was that?
2015.
Oh, okay.
I couldn't qualify the, was it like maybe like the prior 2 years, so I was like, all right, cool, I'll wait, you know. And then eventually in 2015, like actually I had my sister, she was working a job too, so she got on there as a co-signer with me, and it was like just enough to qualify for like 300 something, you know. And I found my first house and told my dad, hey, I'm gonna get this house, and he's like, damn, like are you sure? Like these houses were going for 100,000 like you know 2, 3, 4 years ago, whatever it was. And I was like, well, I'm like, it's either this or like I keep renting, you know?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I guess like in a sense that's true, you know? So he's like, all right, well, just go for it. And yeah, I did. And, you know, did,
One of the best decisions you ever made, right?
yeah, for sure. And after that, I mean, before real estate, I was flipping cars.
Oh, okay.
I got into flipping cars with my father-in-law. So he showed me the ropes a little bit, and you know, we just ran it from there. So after I started making pretty, you know, decent money to where I was making more than just my bills, every few years I would save up money and I would buy a rental property. And yeah, I bought a rental property almost every maybe year and a half, 2 years, up until the time when like was it like I think 2021 was like the last year I bought a rental. But I locked in a bunch of stuff at like really good rates, and you know, some of my earlier properties they appreciated like pretty good. And yeah, I had a lot of you know people, you know my uncle, other people are like, dang, like are you sure like you're buying these rentals at these prices? Like you know, you should just wait. A few years ago, things were different, you know. And I was just like, well, like you know, it's this much down. It's really not that crazy, you know. The rents are worth this much. The rent's gonna cover the payment, and I'll make a few $100. Like, even if the houses go down, I mean, the rent's worth the payment, so why not, you know? So I did it, and you know, just went against like you know people who I trusted more their advice, and it's not like they were trying to advise me wrong. It's just
Trying to protect you.
yeah, exactly. They're like from what we've seen in our lifetime, like we probably wouldn't do that right now, you know, like it doesn't make sense compared to what things were a few years ago, you know. Even right now, I mean, now things are like a lot crazier, and I mean, who's to say what's going to happen from here in the next few years? But you know, you can't just kind of sit on the sideline and hope that you know, oh, prices are going to drop or rates are going to drop. Just wait, because nothing's guaranteed. So I mean, for me, it ended up being really good because you know, fast forward a few years after that, when I got into real estate, it's when the rates had came down again. And by then, I mean, all of my first properties had appreciated like pretty good, you know?
Double, probably.
Yeah. So it was like, damn, like I started really running the numbers, and I'm like, yo, like I've made more equity than even, you know, in these years, and almost what I made working and, you know, doing my businesses and everything. And I kind of took a gamble, and it was like, man, I refinanced a couple of my rental properties at like 3.5% interest rate, pulled out a nice amount of capital, and then it was like, damn, like the payments are still. I got rid of like most of my cash flow because I you know brought my payments out close to like my rents. So I still had like some cash flow, but like not like before. But now I had capital, you know.
Right.
And you know, just what do you call it from there? Actually, the way I got my first flip, we were renting a house with a lot out in San Bernardino, and I always did salvage cars. So we would buy crashed cars, fix them up flip them. And the neighbor wanted to sell his house. And at that time, I had already met Peter. And I was like, hey, like, the neighbor wants to sell his house. It's all beat up. Like, what do you think, you know? And he was like, I sent him all the info, ran the numbers, said, oh, that's a crazy deal. Like, get it, you know? All right, cool. So I was kind of planning, like, you know, I'll fix it up and maybe rent it out or something. But I ended up selling it, you know? Ended up fixing it, selling it. I think it was because I was like, I don't know if I want to have a rental in San Bernardino, you know? I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know how that's gonna be with the tenants, you know?
Did you make a cool profit on it though?
Yeah, I made about like 160 on it.
Oh, okay.
And it was we sold it for 505. So I was like,
What'd you get it for?
240.
Man.
Yeah,
Easy money.
yeah, bro. So I mean, at the time, you know, I was doing anywhere from like 30 to, you know, good months 50K flipping cars and everything. So I was like, damn, like I just freaking 3x this month real quick, you know, like this is not bad. But I mean, I was busy a lot too back then. I was doing the car thing heavy, so I was going to auctions every day, doing the online stuff and everything. And so, you know, I didn't want to like jump the gun 100%, just go for it. But, you know, after a few months, I was like, oh, you know what, like that was pretty cool. Like I actually told Peter, like, hey, can you help me find another flip, you know? So he found me another one, and that one was in Pomona. That one still did pretty decent, nothing like the first one, you know? But it still made like 65K. I was like, oh shit, like it's not bad, you know? And then after that, I just kind of kept doing both for a little while, did one at a time for a while. And then eventually, once I kind of felt like I had more of the rhythm, started exploring like the hard money options. And then it was like, oh, well, if I can, you know, I was using my own cash from all the refis. And the way I looked at it was like, well, if the market turns, worst case, I'll just keep the house and rent it, you know? So I was trying to do it like a little bit safer. But I was like, it's taking me, you know, 3 months to do a flip. So if the flip would make, like the first one made 160, I'm like, it's 50, 55K a month. If this other one, you know, didn't do as big, would have made 60, 65, that's 20K a month. I'm like, how can I get this to where like I can make this profit monthly? So that's where the whole thing with hard money came up, you know? So the way I see it is like, how long does it take to remodel the house and how long is the crew busy for, you know? So if I could have, you know, at the time I started doing 4 projects at a time. I was like, if I can have one, you know, being worked on while one is selling and we have one purchasing, then I can just, you know, move the crew from one to another and we could do, you know, one every month and a half month, depending on the rehab. So did that for a while. And then once I kind of like got comfortable with that, it just kind of clicked and just kept rolling it up. And yeah, now we're doing, I think we were counting them yesterday. We're holding like 12 properties right now, I think.
Wow.
13, yeah. So, and then now we grew the crew. He was helping me for a few years, just like he would help me find deals. And here and there I'll get deals elsewhere, but, you know, Peter's the one who helped, you know, get the majority of my deals. So eventually, like, we talked and we're like, you know, well, how can we scale this and how can we work together on this? So around that time, his dad actually used to run a huge construction company, and he shut down his company. He took a position, a pretty high level position for the Lewis family. So he shut down the construction company, and let go, you know, most of it. Well, he let go of everybody, and they all went like to different companies. Some people, you know, went on their own, started, you know, just doing their own work and everything. And one of his main guys used to run like 50, 60 people at a time, different crews. He had just been kind of, you know, doing his own jobs now. So I think one day we just got to talking, and we brought up to his dad, like, hey, you know, we had done a few flips together with my crew, and we're like, we want to, like, you know, I want to keep my what do you call it, like my flow of flips that I do with my crew, but we want to start doing like our own flips together too, to where like when me and him get a flip, it doesn't tie up my crew too, you know? So he's like, well, why don't you guys, you know, talk to Jose? He's been just, you know, working, doing his own thing. He was always like really good to us and everything. So one day we had a meeting with him, and he's like, yeah, no, like, like, I'd be on board. Like, what do we got to do, you know? So we just kind of told him the plan and everything, and yeah, he was like, all right, cool. So we brought him on board, and then he started bringing in like some of the guys that used to work with the company too, and now we got that crew set up, and he runs the crews, and he runs a few projects at a time with all the crews. So yeah, it just kind of like lined up to where I feel like flipping it's good, and it's good money, but there's definitely like a lot of logistics to it, and there's three main things that I think are important when it comes to being able to flip. Is one is capital, of course. Two is knowing how to find deals, and knowing how to really run your numbers the right way. Everybody likes to do the math on like how things are going to work out if they go perfect, but you also got to keep in mind like what if things don't. And then third is getting the work done for the right prices, because you hire the wrong contractor, it's easy to get screwed over fast. People think you come up with I'm going to get a hard money loan. I'm going to put 15% down. I got 150,000. I'm ready for my first flip. And it's like, all right, cool. What are you going to get? Buy a $500K house. How much is the down payment? 85,000. How much is your rehab? 60,000. How much are your hard money payments? 3,000-4,000 a month. Okay, so you got 150. You tie up, 85 or a little bit over half of it on the down payment. You got 65,000 left. Your rehab is 60,000. You got some hard money payments and stuff to kind of pay in between. You obviously, with hard money loans for that, you have your construction draws. So maybe you could spend 20,000-30,000 of it, spend maybe half of your construction, and then do a construction draw. Now you're back to you got your money. Finish your remodel and sell it, and get all your money back. So that's like the perfect scenario. Everything works out perfectly. But what happens if you spend the first 20-30 grand, and that first contractor screws you or something, and then now you got to get somebody else and redo certain things. And if you're not sitting on enough like money to kind of like back yourself up, things can quickly go sour. So, and I think 150 is kind of like, if you have 150, I mean, that's like a good amount of money to like do a first flip for in the 500 range. You have a nice amount of pillow. But I know like some people have came out like, oh, I got 80 or 100, like I want to do a flip. Like how much is it down? And you got how much of the construction you got up front? Cool, like you can do it that way, but what happens if anything goes wrong,
Yeah. I think that when doing them, for sure, if you haven't, because you see a lot of things on Instagram where like, oh, it's easy, just get that property and put it under contract and that's it. But I've done quite a few, and I think how I started was I partnered with somebody.
Yeah.
That had been doing it for like 20 years. And they, in a sense, kind of took advantage of me because I was just starting. That was my first deal ever. But you have to kind of roll with the punches and understand, like, okay, maybe I didn't make as much as I could have made on this deal, but I gained knowledge. I got introduced to people that I can use.
Mm-hmm.
I know how to, like, evaluate the deal. I know how to save. The first deal I ever did was 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,300 square foot house in Silver Lake. My friend at Century 21, he actually shot me the deal. He said, hey, it's a hot area. I'm getting calls up the ass. Like, people are harassing me to see this property. It needs work. It had the view. It was like a half-acre lot, a lot of flat land in the back. We built a deck in the back, huge deck. You can see all of LA and Dodger Stadium. So that was like the money shot right there. Like, when someone went into the backyard and stood on that deck, they're like, man, I want this house. You can have a party on the deck. It was really nice. The house was nice too. The guy kept the cabinets, painted them, put countertops, just put like laminate flooring, kept the same bathtub, just put new tile in the back on both bathrooms, like pretty basic. New vanities, kept the same windows, just painted them black.
Oh, shit.
Colored the house like a green color, which when I seen it, I was like, oh, I don't know about this one, but they liked it. And the way it was staged was perfect for the area. He had another contact out there that specialized in staging Echo Park.
Okay.
And I think that gave me like the whole gist of like, it's possible. You don't have to do everything. You can get by with saving things. And that's when I really got into it. Started trying to like break into it, but I kind of did it the wrong way. I bought my own house, which I got for a really good deal. I paid $700. It's went up almost double. But I was doing construction on that house. I bought a house on a main street in Whittier, which is probably like the worst thing you can ever do. That one I made like 15 grand after everything.
Damn.
And then I had bought another flip in Boyle Heights, which was 2 units. So that one did good. We kept a lot of the stuff. We blew out the wall in the kitchen and made I would say about 100 after everything on that one. So that was a good one. But the Whittier one sat for like 6 months, so kind of got eaten up with those hard money payments. And then our own house we were doing construction on before we moved into it, and then we had another house so it was
Just
like,
a lot of money going out.
yeah.
Once.
And I'm sure like those hard money payments,
Yeah.
they add up real quick.
They're ruthless. They don't wait.
Then you pay so many days past, and it's fucking 15% more interest and shit.
Yeah.
Like, man. So that helped me. Is that how did you start off? Like when did you do it on your own, or did you partner with somebody on your first flip?
I did it on my own.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so my uncle used to flip before, so I kind of like paid attention a little bit when he was doing it. And when I got my first one, I asked him for a little bit of advice.
Oh, okay, that's good.
And like luckily, I already knew a good contractor that he had done work for me at my house, and like even when I had rentals, he'll help me fix little things I need to get fixed and stuff like that. And actually, I knew the contractor first, so I connected him with my uncle.
Oh,
so
okay.
he kept him busy for a few years, and me and him just always kind of kept in touch. Like he helped me out like doing some work on my first house, and I would like refer him out to people like, oh, this guy's cool. Especially like my uncle, he worked with him like for a long time. So when I got that first one, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna get a flip. Like, what do you think? And he's like, yeah, I got you. He's like, I'm gonna finish up this project here. Like, when are you gonna get it? Cool. So it lined up,
That's good.
He came, helped me out. So I think that was definitely like a blessing to actually, like, because that's, like I mentioned, that's like one of the three main things. It's like you gotta have the crew, or the contractor that's gonna take care of it for you for the right price,
Right.
So
I think on my part, I didn't have a contractor yet. I had a guy that was like a contractor.
Yeah.
He was like the project manager. So he would get the guys and then like every time we went to a new property, he would like bump up the price. They're all the same size, almost just about the first few projects, but he would he kept bumping it up. And then he kind of messed up on a few jobs, and then I kind of cut him off, but I was in contact with his people. And then one of them kind of screwed me. They did work, but they did just like overpriced work, and it wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
Because I was still new to it. And then one of the workers, like I had a fallout with one of his guys, and he was like, oh, you better have my money, and just like talking crazy. And I'm like, who the fuck is this? Like, how do you even come off talking like that? He's like, oh, I'm done with all my work, blah, blah, blah. You better have my fucking money. I fucking, I'm from blah, blah, blah. I don't give a fuck where you're from, bro. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about because the job's not even half done.
Yeah.
And he just got quiet. He's like, well, Renee's not done with his work. I should have said, so he's like, nah, he's not. And I'm like, well, his work is like 60% of the fucking house. Your work is like 30 or like 30, I don't know, 40. So how would I pay you all of your money if the house is not done yet?
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, well, we're going to go over there right now. And I was like, I'll show up over there. So I got out the car and the guy's like, hey, you know what? My bad. I shouldn't have said that. I want to have a working relationship with you. I'm like, we were too late for that, bro. And then his workers started walking up, and then I'm like, I'll knock all these fools out because they're like all like 5'2" and shit. And then they're like, no, it's cool. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. And then one of his workers is one of the guys I use now. So we squashed it. He's like, you know what? My bad. I should never did that. His work is not done. He went to go yell at that guy. He was the project manager. So I came back. I was like, I fucked up. And then the one of the workers came and said, hey, whatever he's charging you, I'll charge way less, and I'll do the whole house. I can do more than just, stucco. Yeah. I can do a lot of things. So then we started hiring him. And then we made a good connection. We've been using him for a while. And, you just never know. But I had to deal with weeding out people.
Yeah.
And losing some money before I actually made money.
Exactly. And that's definitely one of the main things with it, you know, that you have to keep that in mind, you know. I mean, maybe if like if you're a contractor yourself, or you're in the industry, or your family is all, you know, in construction, and you know you got that part unlocked, then you know you have an advantage
Right.
to get started flipping. But if you're coming out of nowhere, you know, you got the money, you know, that's 1/3 of the equation.
Yeah.
So
And that's what a lot of individuals think now, like, oh, I have the money, I have everything.
yeah,
But it's there's a lot more calculations.
for sure. I mean, I feel like the biggest thing that I always hear all investors that I talk to say is like, I can't find enough deals, or I can't find deals, you know?
Yeah.
And these are
The
people,
true investors.
Yeah, exactly. And those people that have been doing it for years, you know, like us. And we still kind of struggle sometimes to get deals, but,
Yeah.
you know,
Because
luckily-
everybody's numbers are different. And
yeah,
some are fucking construction 25,000. And then you
exactly.
get there.
Yeah, like, oh, damn. Yeah, people will think like, oh, you're just going to get on the market and find a somewhat rundown house and buy it and fix it and flip it.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. Like, I even have some people be like, oh, like, can I use my FHA on a flip? I'm like, yo, bro. Crazy.
That I towards my beginning of my career, that's what a guy offered. Like, I met him. It was like, I had first started a website. I think he got my information from like Google, AdWords and stuff, and I was like paying for leads. And then it was like a 4-unit or 6-unit, like in Los Feliz, like a while back when prices were way lower than now. And there was like a garage that was converted, but then they broke everything out. They were going to turn it back into a garage. And then I'm there meeting with them, and there's like people coming in and out because it was kind of like run down. And he's like, "Do you think I can close with FHA on this one?" And I'm like, "What the fuck? I thought you said you're an investor, bro. What happened?" He's like, "Yeah, but I just I don't want to tie up all my money." And then I'm just like, "Man, I came here. It was an hour drive."
No, it's crazy. Like, I mean, it's good to believe in yourself and everything, but definitely like a lot of people are a little bit too optimistic.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not easy. So I mean, I have people that approach me or like want to partner up on stuff and things like that. And I mean, I always tell people like, look, I don't do partnerships. You know, I think the only person I partner with is Peter. But it's also, you know, he brings a lot to the table too, which is another 1/3 of the equation, which is finding the deal. So, you know, I'm more the face of our operation. You know, Peter's like behind the scenes, but he does a lot. He does a lot with you know, running the numbers and just being on the hunt and finding good deals. Like sometimes I'll screen through stuff and I get a little overwhelmed. So be like, bro, can you like find some stuff? And he'll find something, send it to me. Like, all right, yeah, that is a good deal. So you know,
So it's a good duo. It's a good team because like when you don't have the time to find a deal, he'll do that and then you'll handle the rest.
exactly. I'll manage the construction, and you know, he'll help with all the what do you call it, the office stuff and emails and shit like that. I mean, I'll do some of it too, but a lot of times like, oh, bro, I gotta go talk to the contractors. Like, can you just like take care of this email for me real quick?
And Peter's young. Peter, how old are you, Peter? 23? He's a baby. He's we're the same age.
Bro, it's funny. Like, I think we went to this restaurant the other day, and we met the owner. Remember? Oh, yeah. And we walk in, and he had just started. It's a spot in Chino, really fire spot. If you guys are ever out there, Gozo Kitchen and Lounge.
Okay.
It's a cool local spot. So we went and walking with Peter, and he's like, I mean, we like, you know, the age gap is there, you know, like, so I mean, I don't feel that old, but when I'm with Peter, like, I'm old. So we walk in, you know, we meet him, or I had already met him, but I took Peter with me, and then he was like, I'm like, oh, this is my partner, Peter. Or no, I didn't even say you were my partner. I was like, oh, this is Peter. And he was like, oh, cool, nice to meet you. He's like, oh, he asked him, like, is he your mentor? And me and just looked at each other, started laughing.
Little brother.
It's comparable too when we go places. They're like, "Is this your son?"
We always get that everywhere we go. It's the hair, I think, like, and the skin color.
Yeah. And then because you're all shaved up too, so
I still got the baby face. I don't even get hair.
it takes off 10 years automatically.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, you know, in anything, I feel like, you know, it's, you know, everybody wants to, you know, obviously everybody wants to make the most money, but sometimes if you got the right partnership, you know, sometimes people complement each other, and you know, this person brings something to the table, you bring something to the table, and you collaborate, and you could probably make something bigger than what you would have done on your own. Because the thing is, I feel like everybody has their own skills. You know, like there's things that I might be good at and you suck at. There's things that I probably suck at and you're really good at, you know? So if
Knowing your strengths and weaknesses.
exactly.
Because at the end of the day, it's like a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You're making money together. It's kind of like you guys are together in a sense, working.
Yeah.
So like with me and my girl, it's the same thing. Like I have strengths, she has weaknesses, vice versa. And she calls out things of me like, hey, you're supposed to do this, and then you get kind of pissed off, but you're like, shit, you're right.
Yeah.
And then vice versa. Oh, why are you telling me anything? And then they fix it, and then you're like,
Yeah.
oh, okay,
No,
that's why.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, that's another, like, you know, my wife, she does a lot for me too, where, you know, same thing, strengths and weaknesses. Like, there's times where, like, I mean, now with all the properties, like, oh, we got to pay all the utilities, set up utilities, property tax bills, this, that. Like, hey, did we cancel the insurance on this? Did we set up the water? Did we schedule this? Did we schedule that? And, you know, like, years in the first few years, like, it wasn't that much stuff, so I would kind of more do it. She was busy with her own stuff back then. We used to run a venue, so she used to be busy with that. And I would kind of like, oh, well, this, you know, I'll take care of everything on this end. And eventually, like, I would get overwhelmed, bro, because there were just things that, like, I hated doing, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, she took over all this stuff that I don't like to deal with. And, I mean, it just makes everything flow a lot better, you know? Like, where things that, like, overwhelm me and I'm like, I can't sit down and, like, go through all this and do all that. Like, she'll knock it out real quick. And it's like, oh, like, why were you stressing over that? It was nothing. And I'm like, damn, like.
Yeah. That's where that's where leverage comes in. Like you leverage somebody else, your wife or whoever, to take care of things that by you doing those things, you're not making money.
Yeah.
You can be using that time to go find more property,
Exactly.
and work on more deals and make more money.
Exactly.
And you pay whoever, or your wife does it to contribute, and then you're going to end up making more at the end of the day.
Exactly.
What advice would you give yourself knowing what you know now?
How many years ago?
How old are you now?
32?
Let's just say like 18, 19.
Damn.
Just becoming an adult.
Man.
Or maybe Peter's age.
Let's see. Well, I mean, I guess the biggest thing is just do your own due diligence, and, you know, like, maybe because I feel like back then I would listen to a little bit more advice on people who, like, I looked up to, or you know, I had trust in and everything. And like I said, it's not like, you know, people want to, you know, advise you in the wrong direction. It's just everybody analyzes things differently, you know. And I think, you know, from there, you know, the last 10 years till now, a lot of the people that are close to me, like, you know, if you talk to anybody that really knows me and is close to me, my sister, all my family, they're just like, damn, like, he's a risk taker, but, like, it's worked, you know. And I think, you know, that confidence came out throughout the years. I think if I would have, like, maybe had more of that confidence back then, maybe I would have gone a little bit harder from the beginning. But, you know, I still think it all kind of at least worked out. I mean, I'm not 100%. I mean, not like in a bad way, but I'm not like 100% where I want to be. I mean, I think I'm just very ambitious, so I want more. But you know, it's like you just gotta do your own due diligence, and if something makes sense, you know, because I mean, now it's like when I want to do something, if I want to scale, or I want to buy another car, I want to do this, I want to do that, like, you know, I just, like, I'll think about it, bro. It'll be on my mind for a day, 2 days, 3 days, and just like everything's just working, and I'm looking at the pros and the cons, and, you know, I think we talked about it the other day with, like, the cars and, like, the write-offs and things like that, you know. And I think before, you know, like, in previous years, I'll tell my mom or my dad or someone, like, hey, I'm going to buy this car. And they'll be like, damn, you're crazy. Like, why are you going to spend all that money, this and this? And I'm like, well, look, check it out. It's like I think years ago I bought, like, a Silverado, 17 Silverado, you know. And it was, like, think about it, for, like, $53,000. So I'm like, all right, cool. I'm going to have this $1,000 truck month, $1,000 a month truck payment, you know. And they're like, oh, man, like, do you need all that? You know, you could buy an older truck for, you know, 20 grand, 15 grand or something. It's like, yeah, but, you know, you're not going to write it off the same, you know. So, I mean, the way I looked at it back then, and even now that I, you know, get crazier cars, it's like, well, If this truck is over 6,000 pounds, 50 something thousand, I could write off 60 grand in the first year if I need to, if I made that much income, you know? So it's like either you know, this year you either pay an extra 30K in taxes, or you save 30K, you put up maybe 10 down or something, and, you know, a monthly payment, but at the end you're kind of the same, and you have a truck, you know, or a car or whatever it is. So, yeah, it's funny because now it's like they don't even question it no more, you know?
Yeah.
My dad came over the other day, and he's like, "Oh, what are you guys doing? Are you home?" And I was like, "Yeah, but we're about to take off." Like, "Oh, where are you going?" Like, "Oh, I'm gonna go to the dealer. I'm gonna go order a car." And he's like, "Oh, cool. Like, what kind of car?" I'm like, "Oh, a Porsche." He's like, "Oh, that's cool, you know." And before, I don't know, he used to be like, "Yo, like, are you sure? Like, you need to chill." And now he's like, "Oh yeah, like, if like he has to know what he's doing by now. If not, then, you know, something's up." But yeah, he stopped by, we kicked it for a little bit, and we took off and went to go do our thing, you know?
That's that's like touching, bro, because he's the one that put that thought into your mind about a car, and then he just understands it now.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, it's like, shit, like, he's doing it.
Yeah, yeah.
He's doing what I, told him at a bigger scale. Now it's not just one, what was it, a SRT8 back then?
Yeah, the SRT.
Now it's like 10 different cars, and I think that's where your family, your parents, they see like satisfaction, like, shit.
Yeah.
Like, my son is doing something. And my mom's kind of the same. She's like, "Oh, why are you gonna do this? Why are you gonna do that? Why are you gonna buy this? Are you sure? Are you sure you need it?" I think when I bought my Tesla like a couple years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, it was a $1,200 payment, and I was just like, shit. I was scared because I was like, I've never had a payment. I always believed in putting half down on a car and paying it off in 18 months.
Exactly.
Just so, I was always scared. What if the market crashes? What if the
Overhead is low.
Yeah, because I started in a market crash in 2009.
Okay.
So I knew how it was when no one was buying.
Yeah.
And it was tough. Starting off as a realtor first year, tough. And I seen other people closing deals, but it wasn't at a high scale. And then from that time to, say, 5-6 years later, to what I was working for, and it was kind of like delayed gratification of working, not seeing results, making 20 grand a year, 30 grand, 40, 60. And then I think it was my 5th year or 6th year, I hit like 98,000, and I was like, "Oh, I'm a millionaire."
Yeah, back then 100K a year was.
You're Chapo now.
Yeah. What do they say now? Like 500K a year is like the new 100K a year. It's crazy now.
So from there, and then building it up, and then I'm pretty, things that I believe in are similar to you, because I achieve something, and I get a car or a house or a building or whatever it is, and then I kind of start to zero. I go to zero. Like, okay, now I need to get this.
Yeah.
Now I got to run it. I got to do that. And I like to gamble, so I'm like a gambler. And that gambler mentality / like hustler mentality is like, you can go to zero and run it up. Like, you're not scared to lose it all.
Yeah.
In a sense, but the part of me that won't lose it all is my partner Janet. She's like conservative, so she kind of snaps me out of things where I'm thinking, "Oh, I'm gonna do all these things," and then sometimes
too hard.
Yeah, not betting at all. So
don't put it all on red.
Yeah.
Man.
So that's but we need that,
Yeah, you gotta have some type of balance. I mean, it's good to go all in and believe, but sometimes with a little bit of
what do they say? All gas, no brakes. But
sometimes you need the brakes, an
emergency at least.
Yeah. Some ceramic brakes.
What has been the most challenging period of your life so far, and how did you navigate through it?
I don't know. With like just
anything, like maybe starting up, getting properties, or maybe working with like the wrong partner or something, or
probably,
or maybe transitioning from what you did before to like investing.
I mean, maybe just but I feel like it's happened through me throughout the years. It's just every time I try to scale, just going more all in, and the pressure that comes with it, to where like, now I've done it a few times to where, thankfully everything has worked out. If you jumped up from one property at a time to 4 properties at a time, from 4 to 8, from 8 to 12, every scale has been, if I was doing 4 at a time for a while, all cool. Like, you get to a point where you're making enough money to where now you have your capital, you got money saved, all this, all that, and then you're like, damn, well, if I throw that extra money and I start doing 6 or 8 at a time, like, I could potentially, double up my income. So you go for it. But then what comes after that is like, oh shit, like, now there's double the hard money payments, now there's double everything.
Yeah.
So I think just that, with still, the lifestyle and, family bills, like, being able to kind of keep yourself level-headed when you got so much on the line, and you still kind of have to be present, as a husband, a father, a son, a friend, best friend, like, all this, everything else, like, you still need to, be present. I feel like I spend a lot of times where, just during the weekends, like, I'm just, oh, we're at a family party, or we're here, we're there, and like, I'm in my head about, damn, Monday I got to do this, Tuesday I got to do that, like, how am I going to balance this out? Damn, like, this escrow's supposed to close, like, all right, cool, we got to send the money for this house tomorrow, whatever, So it's just, I think that's probably the biggest struggle that I've had, is just keeping my head focused and balanced, not getting overwhelmed and not getting overstressed out, So I think, now I'm starting to kind of try to, like, slow down a tad bit, even though, like, we're going at a pretty good rate, but we're kind of like, all right, we'll keep it here, because we've been at this rate for a little while. And a couple months ago, I had actually hired a 3rd crew, and I was going to start doing, like, managing 3 crews at a time. It's like, oh, well, if I could do that, then, we could get it to like 30, 40 properties a year. And I did like that one with them, but it was far. That's when I did that Joshua Tree deal. And I was like, damn, like, I was going from like LA to Joshua Tree to Upland to freaking Westco or Pomona, whatever it was, like, hitting the different projects. And, if I'm already getting calls from 2 different crews, now I'm getting calls from 3 different crews, and, I got to buy materials for 3 different properties or more, for 3 different contractors. It was just way more work, way more money out, just 3x everything,
Yeah.
So it's good, and if everything works out, just like in previous times, it's great. But it also, like, it starts taking you away from just being present in your day-to-day life, because it got to a point where, like, I try to somewhat stay active, gym and stuff like that. But I remember, like, during that time, like, I wasn't even, like, going to the gym. It's like, I'll be gone all day, get home, like, barely be at home for a couple hours, go to sleep, wake up tomorrow, the pressure's back to it, So it's just kind of like, you know what, like, I've got it kind of balanced right now to where the amount of projects we're doing right now and everything, it's a lot, but it's manageable, and I'm cool. And, it's like every other time that I up the speed, it was an adjustment. And, the first few months are always the hardest, and then you figure out how to get it. So I think right now I just kind of decided, like, you know what, like, I think I've done this enough times. Like, I'm just going to, like, keep it at this level for now. And if I can scale, down the line, like, more comfortably, then I'll just do it later. Because I don't want to just, spend my time being stressed out to where I'm not really, like, taking my personal time, my family time, my gym time, my time with friends and stuff like that,
Yeah. I think that brings me to, like, our next kind of topic area, which is, like, self-care.
Yeah.
And I think that working out for me, and it sounds like you work out too, is to get there, like, I don't know, 3 to 5 times a week and just release everything.
Yeah. I think you have to, like, as an entrepreneur, like, you have so much stuff on your plate, like you mentioned earlier, like, it's not just you, it's also, like, the workers, the subcontractors, you know, the realtors, escrow people, the people you're selling the homes to. Like, there's just so many people involved, and in a sense, like, a lot of people are kind of relying on you, and I mean, you're relying on yourself, your family's relying on you, so you know, it is a lot on your plate, you know, and I think you know, before I'd look at it like, you know, some people have you know, I've just known a lot of people in my life, like, oh, this guy has a good career, makes pretty good money, or, you know, union or something. And it's like, oh, he's making 200K a year. Oh, I'd be like, why don't you buy a rental, or why don't you do this, or start something on the side, blah, blah. And you'll see, like, you know, they'll have their career, their work time, and then they'll, you know, buy toys or go on vacation or this or that. And I think as an entrepreneur, you think like, oh, no, you have extra time, you have extra money, like, put it to more business, put it to more investments and this and that. And I think, you know, more years ago, I used to more think like that. And I mean, I'm like that myself, but I feel like not everybody's like that, because there's also a lot of pressure that comes with this wanting to keep scaling as an entrepreneur. So I think, you know, a lot of people, what makes them happy and, you know, their self-care is different than what it is for me or for you, you know? So I think some people are like, you know, if I got a good, you know, union job, and I don't need to buy rentals and this, like, when I retire, I'm still going to get a check. My house will be paid off. I can travel. I could do whatever. Like, yeah, I could maybe sacrifice some free time or sacrifice some hobbies that I have and buy another rental, and maybe I'll, you know, have a house that goes up in value to X amount and have more money when I retire. But if you really kind of step back, like, well, I mean, even if he doesn't start another business, even if he doesn't invest, like, he's still going to be good, and he's going to be able to live how he wants, you know? So I think it just comes down to, like, you just got to be able to do whatever you want that's going to, you know, give you the lifestyle that you want, you know? Not everybody needs, you know, the jewelry, the watches, the cars, you know, the crazy vacations, you know? Some people find happiness in simpler things, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it's not a bad thing, you know? It's just you got to figure out, like, what's actually going to make you happy. So I think that's what kind of, like, you know, pushed me back a little bit to where I definitely still want to scale, and I definitely, you know, I'm pretty hard on myself to keep doing more and keep pushing for more. But I've also realized that sometimes it's also been a problem in me that I also sometimes push too hard to where I'm not really doing my self-care routine, you know? So now I'm, like, trying to, like, you know what? I'll wake up in the mornings, and, like, first thing I do is get to my phone, check emails, like, you know, contractors are calling me, this is going on, that's going on, blah, blah. And, you know, end the night with the same thing, you know? So, you know, I'm trying to have a different routine of, like, hey, no, like, from this time to this time, I got to be done with my work day. I got to chill for a little bit. I got to go to the gym, you know, be at home, have dinner with the family, this and this. Like, you can always get more done if you sacrifice everything else, you know?
Yeah.
But at what point is it worth it, you know? So that's just it. I mean, I'm not an expert at balancing my time by any means, you know? I'm still trying to get better at it. But I feel like I'm at least working on it, and I'm conscious of it, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Well, you're still young. I would say 32. You know, you still got years to go. And from what it seems like that you're saying that you're trying to build is something big, and you're never really going to be balanced at the end of the day. Like, I kind of know how it is, and it's they said most entrepreneurs will never be balanced because there's not really a way to get to accomplish that.
yeah.
Because there's always something going on. There's always a fire to put out. There's always things out there that you can't control. People working with people, different contractors, issues that come up that they find, and it's just, like, in a sense, uncontrollable.
Yeah, there's always going to be something. I mean, we're just talking about that on the way here. Like, you know, with the amount of projects that we're doing right now, it's like every day, like, something has to come up, you know?
Yeah.
It's pretty rare the day that, like, oh, nothing crazy, you know? But it's just that kind of, it comes with the territory. So you just kind of have to be okay with it. And if you're not okay with it, then, you know, like, don't take so much on.
Then not you, but maybe you shouldn't be in the industry. Like,
Yeah.
For that. Because if you're expecting to make a really good amount of money in a short time, it's not always going to be easy.
No.
There's going to be issues that you're going to have to deal with. And that's why it's so attainable to get that in a short period of time, because there's going to be issues that you have to deal with.
Yeah.
If it was that easy, everybody would do it, right?
Exactly. And it's funny, like, people can always tell you, like, oh, like, must be nice or shit like that,
Yeah.
It's like, bro, like,
They don't see the back end.
you don't understand half the shit I've been going through lately. But I mean, it's just part of the game, so it's just trying to take a step back and find the balance. And I mean, I know I definitely, like, I love it. If not, I wouldn't be doing it. I have goals and things that I want to do, but there is times where here and there I'll get overwhelmed just with so much money tied up and so much, like, management stuff going on or whatever, that I'll just be in a bad mood, for a day, 2 days, 3 days straight, whatever. But I'll try to, like, check myself and, like, just get on my cardio, get on my gym stuff, and be like, dude, like, if you're gonna be upset that, like, contractors are calling you and this is going on with escrow and that's going on with escrow, then fucking stop doing it. Like, if you can't handle the pressure, I'll talk to myself. Like, if you can't handle the pressure, then don't fucking do it.
Yeah.
So snap back and
take a mind cleanse real quick.
exactly, and then just get back in there fresh.
Exactly.
But and then also just, like, learning. I think one of the hardest parts, I don't know if you've gone through this, I'm sure you have, most entrepreneurs, it's like sometimes we feel like only we can do something, like, the right way, so it's hard to, like, let go and have hire other people or have other people help you with certain things, whether it's our wife, girlfriend, or business partner, or just hiring an employee or something. You're like, oh no, like, I'll just go do it, like, but you can't do everything,
right.
So it's like, it's something that I've been working on lately. Like, man, like, even if I step back and I have this person handle this for me, even if it's 10-20% less efficient than how I think I'm the only one that can do it perfect, maybe that 10% less efficiency, like, will make me more balanced, and I'll be 10-20% more efficient on other things that really only I can do,
Yeah.
So I think that's important. That's important to learn to be okay with delegating things,
Sure.
That's the only way to really scale. We can't. One thing we can't do is we can't split ourselves up in 2 or 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Yep.
Can you share a setback that that turned out to be a blessing in disguise?
That's a good one. Dang, I don't know. What do you think, Peter? A setback.
A setback.
I don't know. What would have been? I'm sure there's been things that just.
No, maybe Culver City.
Oh, yeah.
Because if we would have stopped then.
Yeah. So, okay, yeah, that's actually a really good example. So when the rates went down, the rates went up. I mean, was it December of last year? December of last year. I had a property in Culver City that we had ran the numbers. Supposed to be a 1.3 exit. There was a couple solid comps, but by the time we finished it, that's when rates had jumped up, and we listed in December. So we didn't get the number that we wanted. We listed for 1.25, I think. We're like, all right, even if we get 1.25, it should be 150K win or something. Should be good. Like, not much activity. We're like, shit. So we start doing price reductions. At the end of it, long story short, we ended up accepting an offer where I was losing a little bit over 100K on the deal, and then probably like a week later, I got an offer for like 40K more. So I would have reduced it a little bit, but I was already locked in, and like the sellers did not want to back out. Try to disclose all kinds of extra shit, like, nah, this, that, like, there might be pee on the walls, like.
There might have been a meth.
Yeah, meth lab. I'm not sure, but there was some evidence of meth lab.
Someone might have died.
Said all kinds of shit, but nah, they knew they had got a good deal. Like, they caught it at the right time. Market had just shifted, and the house had been on the market for a little bit longer than I wanted, and I get impatient, so I was like, it is what it is. But that same month, when there was blood in the streets, and I had that house that wasn't selling. Luckily, like, I had a couple other projects going on, so it's like, it is what it is. The profit's going to come out of, or the loss is going to come out of profit from another property. But I decided to we went hard, and we picked up 3 more deals that same month. So we're like, all right, well, if it's hard for us to sell this and we have to take such a loss, then like, you know, how is it with everybody else? And actually at that time, 2 of those deals came from Fair Trade, you know, and Fair Trade, bro, like they're fucking deals. You know? No hate on Fair Trade, but you guys, there's no fucking meat on the bone, you know. But at that time, all the investors were fucking shook, you know. So we landed 2 good deals from them, and we were even like, fuck, like, why is nobody else bidding on this? Like, we're running the numbers, we're like, it makes sense, like, it fucking crazy, like, it makes a lot of sense, you know? And we're like, but I'm like, but nobody else is jumping. I even, like, we had them both locked in, and then I started telling the guy, like, oh, I don't know, bro, like, I'm getting kind of, like, nervous, like, I'm not sure if I should do this. I think I knocked them both down, like, another $5K each or some shit like that. And they had no buyers, bro. Like, everybody was freaking scared that they're.
Yeah, I remember that.
One was in Fullerton and one was in Ladera Heights. And we got them both for right under $900,000. Fixed them up, sold them around February, March-ish of this year. And fucking both of those properties, actually one made over 200. The other one was gonna also make over 200, but I got kicked for like $70K worth of repairs. Wow. But it was gonna make over 200, so I was butthurt. But I'm like, it's just those LA buyers are different, which is stuff we've learned now to like what to fix before we put on the market, right?
Yeah.
But
that Fullerton one was the one with the double doors with the like glass in the middle. Yeah, I like those doors.
Yeah,
I put them on a flip lately.
Sick.
Yeah,
so we got those, bro, and it was just like, and then we picked up a condo too, and the condo did pretty decent too, like close to 100.
Oh, okay.
And fucking that was in Santa Monica, and yeah, it was just like, fuck, like if we would have like been like, yo, we just lost 100K, like let's just not, because a lot of people were like, I'm not gonna do shit for a while, you know. So
no one knew what was gonna happen.
Yeah,
it was a little scary.
Yeah, so we would have been like, all right, it is what it is. Like, let's just wait till the market stabilizes. Then you would have came back into trying to buy in February, March, whatever, you know. So it was like, damn, like, you know, just off those 3 deals, I mean, we made close to $500,000. We ate back up that $120,000 loss, and you know, we're in the green. Started the year good, you know. Like, all right, cool.
That's good.
So you know, after that, I just kind of like, you know, I mean, we never really thought about stopping, but it just kind of like, the way I look at it is like, you know, the market can only keep going one way or another for so long, you know. So if you do hit a market shift, like within, you know, the market's not going to keep, you know, it's not going to go down 50% in 3 months either, you know.
Right.
So it's just, if something like that happens, like you just got to stay in it, you know. Like you might hit one of those where it just kind of shifts a little bit, but get in on that shift. Like, I think the market went down like 20%. So I jumped in it because I'm like, can it go down another 20% in the next 3 months? Like, maybe, but that's kind of like, that'd be kind of pushing it, you know?
Yeah.
So I was like the way the inventory is and everything, like, at least we didn't think so. So I was like, fuck it, let's just do it, you know?
Yeah, I had I had put a house on the market, and it was a flip, and I had waited. It was a probate deal, and I waited like 6 months because the son, he went crazy. It was in Whittier. He went crazy, and then the house was just filled with trash, like 3 feet high, like about where these desks are, with just trash.
Oh, dang.
It smelled like fucking cat piss in there. I had went in there. There was about 50 people that bid on it, and this is back like in June before. So I waited about 6 months. We closed actually a little less than that. I think I went in March, then I closed like in September, and then I was finished with it in December. And then right when I put it on the market, it sat for like 30 days. And then I got 3 offers. Yeah. And then I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, no offers. And it's like a really nice house. Every open house I had, like, it wasn't a lot at that time, like 5 or 6 people, which that was kind of good because open houses were a little dead at that time. Yeah. No offers. And then 30-day mark, I got 3 offers. I was negotiating with one like at 775, and I was about to accept it. And then we were in negotiating stages, and then 2 days later, someone just wrote me a full price offer. Oh, nice. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna make a little $15K more. Yeah. I thought I was gonna hit 850, but the rates, hit me pretty hard because, everybody was overbidding back then, but then not anymore because the rates went up.
Yeah.
So even then, I made a little money, but that's just gambling, real estate, and then the market.
Yeah.
You can never really like pinpoint it. So how did you get started in real estate and investing?
Well, first I just bought rental properties just because, back then it was just like, I was more conservative with my money back then, I didn't have the crazy lifestyle that I do now. It's not like super crazy, but it's a little crazy, at least compared to like the way I grew up or whatever,
Yeah.
But I did used to have a lot more of that conservative mind state, so I would just save money, and I'm like, man, like I need something to retire on one day, like back then I was, I still do. I was just working as an entrepreneur, so the day that I don't work is the day I don't make money. So what do they say is like, if you don't learn to make money while you sleep, like you're gonna work till you die. So I told myself like, well, I need to at least acquire a few rental properties throughout my working lifetime. If I can buy 5 properties in the next 10 years and pay them off in the next 20, 30, then at least I'll have my house paid off and 4, 5, 6 rentals, whatever it is, and live off 10, 15K a month, and no matter what, I'll be okay. Maybe not be like super wealthy, but I'll be good. So that was just my plan back then. It wasn't really like I was planning to get into flipping or anything like that. I didn't really have the idea or nothing. But that was just it. So I just always knew like, I think I had just paid attention to the market of previous years and how much did my parents buy this house for. I remember we had a house in Montclair before we moved to West Covina. I was still like little at the time, but like I remember like living in the house and we'll drive by. Oh, that's the house we used to live at. It's like across from Montclair High. And my dad told me, I think they bought the house for like 100 and something thousand, like 110, 120 or something. And back then, when I was like little, the market had crashed. So I think the house was worth like 80K at some time. And some dumbass realtor or something told my dad and my mom, like, no, you guys shouldn't even pay the house. Like, it's not even worth it. Like, you're negative 30 grand, like, blah, blah. So, and my dad told me, like, we listened to this fucking jackass and we stopped paying our mortgage,
Yeah.
And they stacked up money. Like, we lived mortgage free until we got like foreclosed on, I think maybe like a year and a half or whatever, 2 years, whatever it was back then. But they stacked up enough cash to where, they bought a mobile home in West Covina, and it wasn't much. I think they still like had maybe stacked up close to 100K or something from all that. And then we lived in Westco for a while, that mobile home park. They had low overhead, freaking mobile home was paid off. I think they were just paying the slot maybe $500 a month or whatever it was. So they did that for a while, and then after that. My parents bought a house in Pomona for around 150,000. So, I just remember that story that Montclair house, like, yeah, it dipped down to like, 80K for a little bit. But then now what's Montclair worth in that area is 700,000 or something, So I'm like, damn, like what? I was probably 5 years old, 7 years old when we had that house. So I'm like, all right, in 20 something years, actually even, yeah, because now almost 30 years later, it's like 7x the price.
Yeah.
But even 20 years ago, they were already in the 400s, so it was like 4x in 20 years. So that's the way I looked at it. Like, dang, like if I can just buy a few rentals, like maybe things should happen, kind of how they happened back then or close to it. So that was just it. I always just kind of like looked at prices, paid attention. I think. I even remember, like, I was still, 08, 09, I was in high school, but I remember there was a lot down the street from the house that we lived at in Pomona. Somebody built a new house on it, and I remember they sold it. It took a while to sell. I think maybe ended up selling for around 300,000 or something like that. Then I think the market crashed and it went down to like 150, 200 or something like that, and then they shot back up.
Yeah.
So I think I always just kind of like paid attention to all of that. So I'm like, and I remember my dad's story where like, even if you bought a house for 110 and the market goes down to 80, he was like, the mortgage was still comfortable. He's like, we should have never let it go, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that kind of stuck to me. And I was like, well, like in my working lifetime, like, you know, I think, I mean, what back then you can, I bought my first few rentals with like owner occupied loans. So, you know, bought the first one, I think the first one was FHA, 3.5% down, put like 11, 12K down, you know? And I think my second one, I did like 5% down owner occupied, and I did my third one as well. So it was like back then, I mean, you can buy a house with, you know, 20, 30, 40K max down, you know? And, you know, after a while, obviously you can't keep doing the excuse of the first time home buyer. I think I said like, oh, I'm upgrading. My first house, and I bought a bigger house for the family. Like, oh, we're having a kid, we're gonna buy a bigger house. All right, cool. And then after that, I was like, oh, well, we bought a house in Pomona, and like the neighborhood's kind of sketch, so we want to move back to Chino, so we're buying another house in Chino, and you know, just kind of played it like that.
Just work the system.
Yeah, work the system to get those first few loans. I mean, I think definitely like we're in a different time to where it's not that easy anymore. You know,
Right.
It's hard to get. You know, even if people could still, you know, first time home buyers, all they can still come in with close to that low down payment. Just the mortgage is like a lot harder. So I mean, you know, now I mean you can do it for yourself, but even looking back to 2020, like a $3,000 mortgage back then is $5,000, $5,500 now. So I mean, it is a different time, and it is a lot harder for people to, you know, even if you come up with that 20, 30K in 2-3 years, you know, which I mean, a lot of people could do it. It's not like crazy money if you sacrifice a few things, or you know, you're making enough money. But now it's like you can't really just do that and rent the house and cover the mortgage, you know. But thankfully, at least, you know, in my first few years of working and being in business and everything, I was able to do that. So then when the whole thing with the rates happened, I mean, I was just like, damn, like I could refi everything and I'll just have money saved, you know. So I refied everything, and luckily I was sitting on money. I mean, back then I used to flip cars, so working capital just, you know, made a lot of sense too, because just kind of like, it's funny, like I feel like I'm trying to do the same stuff now that I was doing back then, because when I was doing cars as my primary thing, every December, like November through like January, I would just stock up fat, you know, buy as many cars as you can, because that's when everybody's kind of like on vacation or just not buying as much and everything. And then tax season comes, and then boom, you know, everything you got that, you know, throughout the year you'll make $1,000 on a 10K car, 1,500, but if you bought it in December and sold it in February, March, you're making 2-3K a car, you know? So I would do that for those years. So, you know, same thing back then. I'm like, well, I'm just going to refile my properties, and I'll still have, you know, a good amount of money saved. The mortgage, even the new mortgages, even though now I'm going to have less cash flow, they're still going to get covered by my tenants. So it's not like I got to come out of pocket, and I have the money backed up right there just in case. So then, I just, you know, did that, and I was sitting on the money. And I mean, I wasn't like buying crazy cars or doing anything stupid back then that, you know, so I was like, it's cool. And, you know, doing that and investing in, you know, investing my extra money into rental properties for those first few years of my working years, it paid off, because when that opportunity came to me of like, hey, neighbors talking about he'll sell you this house for $240,000, you know, it was a fixer-upper, so I could have maybe looked into a hard money loan, but I didn't really know much about that or how that worked back then. I just knew I had the cash because I had done all these refis, you know. So I was like, oh, well, I could do it. Cool, you know. So the opportunity was there, and it lined up. And once I saw the profit, I was like, oh, shit. Like, so this is the potential of real estate, you know. So
Yeah, that's pretty much how a lot of people should start, is stack up the rentals and maybe a few doors, maybe 1 or 2 units, and then move to the next one.
yeah,
Better area, because it is legal.
yeah.
To start off with the FHA and wherever, 2 to 4 units, and then let's just say you want to go to a better area with a bigger unit, then you can.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's definitely the route that a lot of people should take.
Yeah, and it's not like, you know, when I did it, it was a little bit easier, but somebody 10, 15, 20 years older than me can say it was easier in their lifetime, you know? It was always easier back then, you know? But it's not impossible now. It's harder now, you know, but it's always been harder throughout the years. But, I mean, nowadays it's like maybe you can't buy a property with 5% down and cover it with the rent, but you can probably use an FHA on a fourplex or something And, you know, with more units, you get more rental for the same amount of money.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you just got to manage more doors, but it's still possible. It's a little bit harder, but it's always been a little bit harder, you know?
Yeah.
So if you're willing to do that, you know, if you're willing to, you know, sacrifice and, you know, put your money to that, I mean, it'll pay off in the long run, but financially, and that's where we go back to talking about, like, everybody's different and everybody has to find, like, how much pressure do they want to take on, and what kind of a lifestyle do they want to live today, and what kind of a lifestyle do they want to live down the line. So, you know, it's like you can, you know, I think, what do they say? Like you can, you know, there's people that are making, you know, 10 grand a month, even 20 grand, 30 grand a month. Doesn't matter how much you're making. Like if you don't, you know, manage your stuff right, like you could be paycheck to paycheck at 100,000 a month, you know? So it just depends on you and how you want to budget out your money, you know?
Right. And that's a lot. It happens a lot with realtors. They can make so much, you know, monthly, and then they don't have nothing for the future, no rentals, no nothing. It's kind of shooting yourself in the foot, because for your future, you need to have something saved or property or something. You need to be investing into something to get that cash flow, or to pay it off through the years, to have a write-off, and then in the future you sell or whatever you do.
Exactly, because realtors, I mean, it's being a realtor, it's like your own business, you know. It's not a salary job. It's not, you know, you're not really, you know, a union job where you're gonna have a pension and all this crazy stuff, you know. So you're basically on your own too. So it's up to you to create your retirement or not create it, you know.
Yeah, that's what they say too. It's not how much money you make, it's how much money you hold on to.
Yeah, how much do you retain of it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, definitely. And I always try to keep that in mind too, you know, like with certain things. I mean, sometimes I go a little hard on cars, but, you know, I think I think me and Peter talk about it sometimes, because he's been itching to buy a car, and he's been holding off, you know.
Might be that time.
Yeah, but I'm like, you know what though? Like, sometimes I would tell him, like, oh, you should, like, you know, the tax write off, the networking that comes with cars, like, do it. But then I remember, like, when I was his age, like, I was also kind of the same way, where, like, I was just saving money, like, you know, making more money than I was living off of. So I'm like, if I could save X amount monthly, like, just keep seeing that number stack up, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, the longer you can keep that going, you know, the better off you'll be in the long run. And, you know, because once you start opening that door, you start, you know, having cars or other things or lifestyle changes or things like that, it's hard to go back, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I definitely, like, you know, started going, you know, throughout the years, like, went a little harder on cars. But, you know, I also look at, like, the depreciation and the tax write-offs and tax benefits and, you know, the networking that it brings and things like that. So, you know, I justify it, but I also try to be at least a little smart in it. And, you know, moving on now, like, try to, you know, not every car is going to retain most of its value, but I try to, like, pick cars that are going to, like, hold most of their value in case of a worst case scenario where, you know, you need to get out of a car or you know, you might need that money. So try to buy stuff that is not going to, you know,
Depreciate too quick.
Exactly.
And cars bring connections too, though. Sometimes people don't see that. 50 Cent said something in his book where he said he had a S450 Benz back in the day, and if he didn't have that car, then Jam Master Jay wouldn't have recognized him, and he would have never got a record deal.
Yeah.
Because he mistaken them for someone else because of the car he had. So it gives character. People notice it. Sometimes you feel like you don't need it, and you really don't need it, but sometimes it does help.
Yeah.
It'll bring you the connection.
Exactly. It just kind of like it solidifies the image, you know?
Yeah.
So
How do you define success in life?
I mean, I would say just having the financial freedom to do whatever you want, you know? So it doesn't have to mean, oh, I got $1 million, I got this, I got that. Like, nah, like, to me, even though, like, I feel like I don't have it yet because of, like, the lifestyle I want to live, like, success is, like, being able to live the lifestyle you want to live without really, you know, having to, I mean, of course, maybe having to work, but being able to do things when you want, you know, like, just if next week I don't want to go and manage no projects or nothing, like, and I don't have to, and I'm still good and I can still live the lifestyle I want, like, that's, to me, that's success, you know?
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people, that talk to me or whatever. Oh man, like they look up to me or stuff like that, or motivation, this and that, or they think in their eyes it's like I'm successful. And I mean, I'm not gonna say I'm not, but like for me, success is like the day that like I can live how I want, and I don't have to do anything. Like I can, if I want to take a month off this month, I could do it. If I want to
Go to Cancun for a month.
exactly, I go for a week and I'm like, man, these fools are calling me, trying to chill, bro, but it's just I'm not there yet, like. So I think for me that's it. I mean, everybody's idea of success is different, but
Yeah.
maybe for some people success could be, working their life in the U.S. and selling their house and going to Mexico and cashing out a house and being able to just retire and chill and travel and do whatever, or hang out by the farm or whatever it is. Like everybody's like idea of what makes them happy is different. So I think success is when you can live your life how you want, whether it's
On your terms.
whether it's with materialistic things or whether it's super simple. But if that's how you want to live and that's what makes you happy, and you can do that, then to me you're successful.
That reminds me of, I seen you watch Andy Frisella?
No, what is that?
It's he has a podcast,
Oh,
AF, Real AF.
Oh, okay.
Look into it, it's really good. So he just did a podcast, and he said in there that that success is defined by, well, actually materialistic things can bring you success, because not all the time were we raised with these things.
Yeah.
Sometimes we were taught to go after your dreams like you were. And like I had a similar thing with my dad. He would buy me these die-cast toys of like Ferraris and Lamborghinis and all this stuff, and he'd always bring one home and give me one. And he would say, "You're gonna have one day. You're gonna have a nice car. Watch, you'll see." And it kind of, that's where I kind of went back to when I was thinking about buying like a nicer car.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, shit, man. I want to make him proud. He passed years ago, but still, I know he looks down, and whenever I go back, it's crazy. But whenever I go back to see him and I visit him, he's buried like around the corner from my house. But I always have accomplished something new, and I feel like if I haven't done something new or accomplished something, then I don't know. I shouldn't do that, but like I shouldn't go. But those things like have a big impact on us, and it's good depending on what part of our life that we're in to use those things to drive us. But at different times, you have a family, we get into a relationship, then our things change in our goals.
Yeah.
So it's not going to always be a car. It's
Yeah.
not always going to be maybe for you, but still for me too. I always want like something next level. Like, oh, okay, I want to upgrade. Because I have the similarity of that of like, I'm not doing enough. I need to do more. I need to accomplish something else to keep me busy, because if I'm not, I've been in places where I haven't drank in almost 8 years, but I've been in places where I had a lot of time, and they say when you have a lot of extra time, you get into trouble.
Yeah.
And I got into a lot of trouble.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
I know that I got to keep busy and not consume my time with drinking, because I'm going to get in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, very inspirational man, bro. We've heard a lot from you. What question did we not ask you that you wanted to answer?
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm not 100% sure, but one thing that I want to kind of talk about that you mentioned right now is just, having time and trouble and all that. Like, I feel like one of the things that that's been great for me and helped me a lot is my wife. We've been together since high school, so I think a lot of times, like when you're in your teens and your early 20s, it's like you're making money or you're working, but you want to go have fun. You're doing all this, all that. Like, I already had my girl, so we would just chill, and she was always she was down with like, oh, we don't need to go out. Like, oh, you want to work 5, 6, 7 days a week? Like, all right, go ahead. Like, I'll help you, whatever we got to do, So I think it was like, it was really good for us that, I kind of just skipped the first, my 20s of partying and doing all that, I think if I would have been single, probably would have been, similar to your path of drinking and going out and all this and that. And I'm like, damn, like, would I have done what I did if I would have, been like that?
Nothing good.
But yeah, I just wanted to add that point, you know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it was a period of like probably because I'm 39, you're 32, so it was like a good 7 years right after high school where it was like just running amok. And
yeah,
but I think that definitely she was there with me when I had nothing,
yeah,
and she believed in me when I didn't even believe in myself.
exactly.
And for her to, like, I think about it now and I'm like, man, like, what did you see?
Yeah, what did you see?
Like, she's like, I always knew. She always tells me, I always knew that, you know, you can make money. I could see it in you. Like, she's a very helpful person. She used to be, well, she has a degree in psychology, and she used to be like a social worker for her first few years out of college. And her dad was like a doctor, and he was like a real estate investor. He owned a lot of properties. So then she's seen that. She started doing property management for him. And she's like, man, there's so much money into this. Like, I'm going to start doing loans.
Yeah,
And then when I met her, that's what she said. She's like, I think you can make a lot of money. And I was still like I said, the first few years, I just did whatever. I didn't care. I was just kind of lost. And then I seen the money that I can make. And then I just instantly thought, because I have like that hustler mentality of like flipping and, you know, making money and turning it over. And you got to make more of this to do that. And I just seen like, shit, I made like 50 grand this month. I made like 40 grand that month. What am I doing with the money? I'm going out and partying and just blowing it. I'm like, let's start investing. And she's like, oh, you're crazy. You know, it's not good. We shouldn't do it. And I'm like, well, let me find a deal and then we'll talk about it. She's like, okay, we'll see. And then I started finding deals, and then we started doing it. And then she's like, oh shit, you know what you're doing. Like, we're making something, we're not losing.
yeah,
And then, you know, she gave me that belief in real estate, and then I took it to investing, and then it helped us invest together.
yeah,
And it just, you know, two minds are better than one, just like you and your wife.
sure.
And then the better half, you know, and it's just like a lot of different things put together, working hard and making things happen.
Yeah.
What question do you have for us or questions do you have for us that you want to know?
I don't know. How'd you guys come up with the idea of doing the podcast?
You want, or me?
You go and then I'll go.
So, crazy story. One of my best friends from high school, he, you know, got into some trouble. He graduated a year after me. We always hung out. He was like one of my best friends in school, and I was going through a lot of things. That's how I started drinking. Within a 5-year period, my grandpa died, my grandma died, and my dad died. And my grandma and grandpa, like, they kind of raised me. They were always there for me. I would always go back to the house whenever I had to. At the end of right before my grandma died, well, first my dad did, and he called me to go see him, and he didn't tell me the extent of everything, but I seen him, and I was like, he's gonna die. Like, I can see it in his face. So I was grateful for him to call me to say bye. He died 2 days later.
Damn.
So then, you know, 2 years after that, that's what my grandpa did. I was taking care of him with my grandma. Same thing. I watched him pass, and then my senior year, a lot of things were going on, and I was staying with my grandma. She had Alzheimer's disease, like, really bad. So I was there with her. My mom was gone for a little while for that year, and I was just not in, like, I felt alone. I felt like by myself. And she had Alzheimer's disease. She wasn't all there, so it was tough. And I basically would drink going to school. I would buy like that $1 Coke or Sprite, drink the top and put vodka and just chill and just party all every day through high school for like junior, senior year. And my friends were there. That was kind of like my family to get me through those next 2 years.
Yeah.
I just like got addicted to, you know, drinking, always partying, and I always made excuses for myself. My friend did 10 years in jail, came out, went to the fire academy through you know, being locked up. He was 1 month away from graduating to become a firefighter. He gets a DUI, so he gets thrown out of the program.
Damn.
He comes to me and he's like, "Hey, bro, I need help. I just got thrown out of the program. What can you do?" So I made him a property manager. I was paying them every week to go to the property, go take material, and see what they need, help them with the tile, whatever they need, just do it for them. So I fired him like 10 times. He was like my best friend, bro. So I always had. He was there for me. Give me my first pair of Jordans. They're actually these ones that I'm wearing right now, which is crazy. I didn't even think about that right now. So he actually gave me this pair, and it was my first pair of Jordans I ever had. So he was there for me all the time, always supporting me, and I felt like I owed him because whenever there was something going on with me and I got into like some kind of mood, he would show up to my house. Hey, bro, let's go here. One time he showed up to my house with 2 tall cans. He was 17. I was 18. He's like, we're going to go to this pizza place. We're drinking fucking tall cans. He's not even 18. We went to go party over there. Like, he just always snapped me out of whatever I was in.
Yeah.
He overdosed, a drug overdose at the beginning of the year. So, it was pretty hard for us. But he was a good person at the end of the day. He just had issues. No one's perfect. But that's kind of like why I put this together, because there was things that he wasn't able to tell me. I don't know why, because I always told him, you can tell me anything, bro. And he was next to me here all the time. Like, hey, I did this work. Come, let's talk for a little while. But he felt like he couldn't tell me. And this is like a platform to, see what everybody that comes on has been through, what kind of issues you've ever had, anything, business, life, working out, whatever, and a platform to tell your story, to give people out there going through whatever they're going through, like a chance and something to look up to of like, hey, this guy went through this guy went through that, he used to do this, he used to do that, and they can somehow link themselves to what we're doing and what we've been through.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. And you know what, I think like at the beginning of the conversation, when you guys were asking about the childhood stuff, like I think that was like a moment where I kind of froze up a little bit. And now that you bring it up, it's kind of like, for me, I think, my parents got separated, like it was like the end of high school, it was just like out of nowhere. So I think like that definitely was a time in my life where I was a little bit lost, and I think what I found to keep myself busy, thankfully around that time is when me and my wife got together, so that was cool. We kind of made our own family, but I got really like into just working. Like I just went full force into, dedicating my time to just hustling.
Yeah.
So
I think that's when you're going through some shit. It's either you get into something bad.
Yeah, I could have gone into partying, or I just, you know what? Hey, I'm just gonna, focus on work, focus on business, and just work 7 days a week, not think about what's going on, and it is what it is. I'm thankful that I didn't go into like anything bad, or like you mentioned, we could have started doing drugs, drink, or this or that, So I think for me it was like I'll just freaking work and not think about everything, But I think everybody has their own different struggles and stories, and I think a lot of times people keep everything inside, especially, everybody, but I think, entrepreneurship is hard, and there's a lot of stuff you keep in, and, a lot of times my wife be like, oh, talk to me, and I'm like, there's certain things that's going on with work that's stressful, like, oh man, like, we just fell out of this escrow, or like, oh, the worker called me that we found this or that, and like, I'm just like,
sometimes you don't want to tell them to worry them, and you just want to handle it.
Exactly. And that's how I am. I like to but it's also not good either, because then she doesn't know why I'm in a serious mood or in a bad mood, and she's like, oh, like, are you upset with me or something? I'm like, nah, I just don't want to talk about it. Like
the same thing too. And she's like, why don't you tell me? And I'm just like, fucking rage texting.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to throw my phone on the floor and break.
Yeah, it's like some shit goes wrong, and like, I don't know, I feel like we get like embarrassed to like tell them like, no, I don't want you to know that like something's not working out for me. Like everything works out, So it just sucks, but no, I think like you said, it's good to talk. Like it's good to talk to somebody. I feel like everybody needs to have somebody to talk to. Whether it's a friend, family, whoever. But you have to talk to someone if stuff's going on in your life, and like keeping everything in, just drowning in your own thoughts is not. It's not
drive
good.
you crazy.
exactly. So yeah.
Yeah, and then like another point of this podcast is to, like, for people to educate themselves and to take like advice from people. So we have different guests like yourself, like someone successful like yourself, or an MMA fighter like we had before, or someone in the financial service industry who can add value. Just a place where you can, you know, like you could watch, you could listen, and people could connect with you.
Yeah.
So people might take inspiration from you. Like they might take one quote that you said and it might change their whole life.
Yeah.
Like your friend's quote changed your perspective of the car you want. Something that might change somebody else's life. The fact that you said that. So that's where people can add value. And, you know, we both bring a good amount of viewers. I'm big in the car community. So I want my friends, my viewers to watch this too,
Yes.
and to take inspiration from it. So that's like the point of like, that was like my biggest point of like why I like this podcast. And I got the opportunity from Robert to join with him and do this. So just to add value to people, that's a part of success too. I want to see other people grow too.
Yeah. Because sometimes, I mean, there's just one bad thing that people are going through, and they just need help, you know, getting out of that funk and unlocking their true potential, you know?
Exactly.
So yeah, no, that was a very good response. Like, it's very deep, you know? So thank you guys for doing this.
No,
It's
thank
awesome,
you
bro.
for coming, bro. We appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. You brought a lot of value. You shared a lot of stories about different things, about properties, projects, family. So, you know, things you've been through. We appreciate it because you never know, you know, someone out there might share similar things like you
Yeah.
that they're going through. And like I said, we just want it to be a platform where you can watch somebody going through something and sharing it and kind of connect to it.
Yeah.
And just know that, you know, whatever you're in, there's a way out.
Yeah. Yeah.
You always have a way out with your mind, change your mindset, thinking of better things, hanging out with better people, all that. There's very many things that you guys can do. So I wanted to say thank you guys for tuning in. No Role Models, your host, Robert Colangeli, your co-host, Aaron Gamboa.
Aaron Double G, let's go.
And then our special guest today, Mr. Z06. Homicide, sorry. My bad.
Homicide. Just call him Homicide.
Homicide.
the link to his Instagram will be below. Thank you guys again for tuning in. We'll catch up with you next week.
Let's go.
Do you have a closing message about anything? Or maybe somebody in the industry thinking about getting into it, or any advice for somebody young?
Yeah, just I don't know, be smart, you know, save your money, try to make the right decisions, you know, stay healthy, go to the gym, you know, try to eat good, stuff like that, and just you know, come up with a goal and spend time trying to figure out how you're gonna get to that goal, and don't overthink it, and, you know, overwhelm yourself with like trying to get there fast, you know, like just take your time. If you have a goal and you want to get somewhere, just, you know, as long as even if you're taking one step at a time, you know, tiny steps, you'll get there, you know. So anything is possible. Just have the right mentality and come up with a plan and stick to it, and you'll get there.
Got it. I like that one.
Thank you guys. Take care. See you next week.
Let's go.
Giovanni.